like to welcome everybody to another edition of the Major Music Lounge podcast, joined by R&B soul singer P.D. Williams. What's good, my brother?
What's up, brother? How you doing?
Oh man, just doing good, man. It's great to have you on first and foremost. I interviewed Catrice, who,
Yeah,
I saw a
yeah.
lot of her videos and came across you on there as well. So, finally glad to have you on the show as well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm happy to be a part. Thank you for considering me to be a part of your podcast, man. I'm very grateful.
Oh man, no problem, no problem.
Grateful.
Definitely again love to have on, a lot of independent artists and you being a R&B artist as well. I haven't had many R&B artists on the show, so definitely good to have a R&B artist get an R&B perspective as well. So tell us a little bit about, who is PD Williams? How long have you been creating music? And maybe whether it's people within your family or artists, who did you look up to? Who influenced your sound and you being a R&B artist?
One, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. Um, Born and raised here all my life. I get my music ability from my mama's side of the family. My great uncle Borkin. He was a deacon of a church, and he was a singer. You know, he died when I was very young, but a lot of family members say I remind them of him. And every time he sung in the church, there's like the church said, the power of God just take over. He was a very anointed singer. But I get my music business from my mama's side of the family. Uh, Everybody in my house, in my main family, in the house I grew up in, everybody was a musical. I was the only one that was musical. My dad, he didn't want to introduce me to, a lot of different styles of music and all that, like funk, rock, jazz, blues. He introduced me to all that. And my mama, she introduced me to the gospel. So yeah, I'm a church boy, brought up and raised. And so I've been introduced to music in so many ways. But I really started taking music very seriously when I got in high school. My band director, Mr. Nathaniel Boyd, really taught me a lot, and all in keyboard, and he gave me my first software in production, which was Reasons, and I still use Reasons to this day. So yeah, that was my early influence. I'm gonna say my dad playing his records, my mom playing her records, and me going to school. Most definitely, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, man, very similar pathways as well. Um, I remember like growing up in the South, especially like between my moms and my pops.
Right.
Similarly, like my pops, I still to this day got a whole like box of records that he had
Right.
from when he passed away. And then my mom just going to church on Sundays
Uh,
and hearing the organist and the
oh
key
yeah, 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 yeah,
playing in the church and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kind of gave me those soulful vibes as well growing up. So that's why I grew up listening to like a lot of R&B, a lot of jazz,
Right,
um, a lot of like blues as well,
right,
being in the
right.
South. So that's where some of my inspirations come from. And then you mentioned Reason. Reason was like the first music making, well, I would probably say the real music making
Yeah,
program that I
yeah. Come
use.
tell like it is. Let them know. Let
Yeah,
them know.
because I used to use like other loop-based production
Right,
apps way before that, but Reason was the first thing that I realized that hey, I can make a beat that can be on a commercial project,
right.
using Reason. So
And it's so
uh
simple to use.
yeah, yeah. How long now you used Reason the whole time you've been creating?
Yeah.
Okay, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Like I started off on Reason 3 and then 4. And right after 4, that's when I kind of got into like Logic and
Yeah. How
what
about
else? MPC.
I'm about to get into Logic. You know, I've used to make my album. It was more live instrumentation, so I did a lot of stuff. I did my recording through Pro Tools and all that. You know,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah. I was actually gonna ask you about that, in
Yeah,
fact,
yeah.
too. Because I listened to the album,
Mm-hmm.
and what caught my ear was the live instrumentation
Mm-hmm.
on a lot of the tracks. Like, was the whole album or just, a few tracks here and there? Was it live instrumentation?
Majority of that album, I'm gonna say 95% of the album is just straight live instrumentation.
Wow. Okay.
Um, the only song that was not live instrumentation was the tribute to the '90s hip hop, like 9 to 5, Life is Going Nowhere.
Mm,
Uh, that was like the only song, of course, that wasn't live instrumentation. It's hip hop.
man.
But that was the only song. But 95%, majority, everything else was just live instrumentation.
Yeah, because it really, like, just how you said, funk, soul, love.
Yeah,
It really had those types of vibes in
right.
it.
Mm-hmm.
I felt a little bit of like almost like Bootsy Collins. I felt a little bit of like Rick James type of vibe. I felt
Mm-hmm.
who else? Another Ant Fetler, type of vibes.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a real like funky sounding album. I really like a lot of the instrumentation.
Right.
Now was that something planning that, recording that whole album, how long did it take you to go through that process? Because I know, live instrumentation, of course, is a lot different than you doing everything in Reason or Logic or whatever. So how long was that entire process of creating that album?
It took me 2 years with pre-production and with rearranging the horns, with even rearranged like two of the songs. I went back and said, I ain't feeling that arrangement. I'm gonna change that up. You know, it's a whole different process. Um, it was it was a process, but it was fun. It was a learning experience. Um, I've learned how to work with different personalities making this record. I learned how to be sometimes tough, but sometimes also be, kind of fall back. um, I learned to have a balance in making in music, but the most key thing I learned how to take my time and not rush. I would say that was the big mistake I made with this album. It's rush. We got to hurry up and finish because I wanted to be done in a year. But with the expenses, and all that, that couldn't been happen. That couldn't happen like that. So I was blessed with doing it for 2 years, and I learned a lot out of all these 2 years. With making Funk Love and Soul, but it was great. It was a great process.
Yeah, it came out March, correct?
Yeah, March, late part of March. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. Yeah, and the other way, kind of going back to just talking about, how I came across your music through
Mm-hmm.
interviewing Catrice.
Uh-huh.
Also one of those things was just the interview. I think you and her did an interview
Right.
that I watched on top of it was at a listening party, and
Uh-huh.
I saw also you play the keys as
Yeah, yeah,
well. Yeah,
yeah.
so um well, first and foremost, how was that? Was that your first time doing like a listening party?
Yeah, that was my first listening party. My first listening party. I was so nervous. I was so nervous. I was nervous. That was my first listening party. Yeah, that was my first listening party. A lot of people enjoy the music. It was my first. That was very first listening party. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was live, definitely live, and just like the vibe again, you playing the piano and you and Catrice just going through it seemed like you have really good chemistry as
Yeah,
well during the interview.
that's my
Uh
girl.
yeah, how long have y'all knew each other?
I met Catrice at Virginia Union because she was the Virginia Union. She was into the I forgot what was her major, but it was within what she does now. And she always saw me playing in the band room on the keys. Everybody know me as a great keyboard player at Virginia Union. She just took a liking to me. We started liking the same music like Jay Dilla, Soul Crayons.
Okay.
Know. We would just have conversations about that, Sly Stone. We'll talk about everybody that's very organic. And, D'Angelo, who I'm a huge fan of, and I think that's what, like, we was like, just come here and give me a hug, man. It was like when we first met, it's just like we just clicked like we knew each other for years. It was like something like that. So, yeah, I've been knowing her. I'm gonna say that was back like in 2020. So 2020, 21, 22, going on 3 years, I've known her.
Word, word. Yeah, shout out to Catrice. Definitely shout out to Catrice. That was a great interview. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 shows ago. In fact, uh,
Mm.
all the viewers, if you're watching this, definitely go ahead and check that out as well. So Virginia, like, what's the music scene out? Like, what's the music scene like out in your city right now?
The music scene right now, that's a good question. Um, in Richmond, Virginia, the music scene, I'm just gonna talk about the music scene in general in Richmond, Virginia. I'm gonna say if you go like in Chesterfield, like in Chesterfield in Virginia, or go in Midlothian, you got a lot of rockers out there. It's like certain parts is different styles of music. You got your rockers in Chesterfield and Midlothian, and you got your in the South Side, you got your gospel, your neo soul, and your hip hop. If you go to the downtown, people that's in the area of the downtown, you got your funk and you got your psychedelic rockers, rockheads, Caucasian boys. You know, I would say overall Richmond of today is like a whole variety of music. But I would say the home base of Richmond to me is gospel. Gospel is really huge in Richmond, Virginia. To me, somebody might think somebody might have a different opinion, but for what I see, a lot of people, the gospel is huge in Richmond, Virginia. And it's huge. The neo and the funk and all that, the go go's, that's huge too. But it's like I would have to. It was like it would be gospel first, then secular. So yeah, but yeah, the home base of to me, the music home, the genre home base of Richmond, I feel like it's gospel.
Okay.
Like that's
Yeah.
like the known genre, and especially go go. Go go. That's a part. That's a part of it. Even though that's original out of DC, but that's a part of us too. The go go sound, all that.
Yeah, yeah. Dude, like, are there like a lot of performance opportunities or like, do you have any shows or festivals?
Yeah, Richmond be having. We be having jazz festivals. I haven't performing on yet. Hopefully in the future.
Okay.
Uh, um, we had a jazz festival. I think it was last month. With festivals, they pick their people early part of the year. But yeah, but we have jazz festivals. We have karaoke's. Tuesday verses. That'd be a lot of people that that's where I started. To get my name kind of known around Richmond when I was just going to Tuesday verses every Tuesday, singing and just doing my thing. And then they had something called it was called something. It was called Sunday Service. It was some called like Sunday Service Soul Food Place where people could just go out on Thursdays and just sing and do their songs and all that. That was very dope too. That was we got all types of karaoke's and the Marvin experience downtown. You got that where you can he always have people to open up for him, that wants to get their name known and all that. It's so many ways. It's so many opportunities to perform and all that in Richmond. Yeah. So there's a lot of that, definitely. A lot of
Yeah,
that.
similar, like, over here, I know a few promoters that have like their own open mic nights twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then I mean from there, I know they do other like gigs on weekends where you might be able to link up. It's not necessarily an open mic type thing,
Right,
but you might be able to go somewhere, get the stage for, a 15-20 minute set.
right,
And
right,
that's some time you didn't have before to perform in front of a group of people and maybe potentially build some new fans. So um I don't get out as much, being an artist as well. I don't get out as much and do performances like I used to, but I mostly like to attend a lot of like music production related,
right, right,
whether it's like a conference, beat battle, things like that.
right, right.
What are your future plans for the remainder of 2023?
2020, my future plans for the remainder of 2023. I would say, man, I want to do a show. I do want. I am trying to get straight to do a show. I want to do a good show. That's my plan. My main plans for 2023. I want to do a show before this year out. I feel like this album deserves a good show.
Yeah, yeah,
Deserves a good concert. Good modest concert. I want to do that and just keep and get this album very known, not only within the city of Richmond, but all around Virginia. I want to do my best. With help from anybody that would like to help, whoever's willing. I'm willing to help, just put on their page like, look, check this out. About that's my goal for the remainder of 2023, and just get ready for the next LP. Get ready for the next LP. I'm just at a place where I want people to hear me. You know, you know, I want people to hear me. I always help people to hear their stuff, and I feel like I'm in a season where people need to hear what PD Williams has to say.
yeah.
So, but for remainder 23, I'm gonna say my main focus is to get a good show, a nice modest show.
Do you have any plans for like any music videos? Cause like listening to a lot of the joints that you had on the album, they also had skits with them.
Yeah,
I feel like it would be good, to
yeah,
have a visual of
yeah.
some of the songs.
Yes, that's a funny thing because me and Catrice, we've been talking and getting ideas for a video for a couple of the songs. So yeah, everybody, please be on the lookout for that. That's the funny you say that. Yeah, that's the plan to get a video of a couple of the songs, and yeah, we're gonna be getting a good video for the couple of the songs. So yeah, y'all be on the lookout. I got to meet with soon. I got to meet with a guy that engineered the album. He engineered and mixed it, did some sound production all that on the album. His name is Jeremy Simmons. I got to meet with him because I want to do one of the songs in his studio. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like it's that's another thing I brought to Catrice. I said, we got to do a fit. I got to do a video for this album too. That can help him more too. So yeah, video is coming. It's coming. Yeah.
With that live instrumentation and the fact that you said you wanted to shoot in a studio, I could
Right.
totally see that
Right.
concept. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely totally it almost kind of reminds me of years ago, and this is an older video even. I think this was during Kanye's second or third album, but
Okay.
it showed
What the second album?
Diamonds Are Forever.
That's late registration.
Yeah, late registration. And they showed though how an orchestra, like they made that song in a studio.
Well, this like on the behind the scenes of that album.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh
And they showed pretty much how it went from the orchestra to like the Pro Tools session,
right, 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 right.
making the song. And I just thought like it was a very
Him,
cool,
yeah,
you know,
him and John Bryan killed that album, man.
man,
Him,
it,
him and John Bryan did some great production on that album. That was fire. I remember that album, Late Registration.
yeah, I think that was probably one of his best produced albums.
Oh yeah, I would say my favorite song in that album was "I'll Be Late for That." I'll be late for that. That
Oh
was
yeah, 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 yeah.
that. That was killer. We major. Oh man, I remember that whole album.
That was a good time for music, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. No. Oh yeah. And I would say during that time, especially in hip hop, everybody had their own sound. You
yeah,
know, I think in hip hop we missing that because everybody want to look the same. Everybody want to sound the same. Everybody want to make the beats the same. You know, don't nobody want to be their authentic self. You know, I was talking to my friend one time. I was like, it's so amazing how I can tell a Neptune beat.
yeah,
I can tell a Swiss Beats beat. I can tell a Timberland beat. I can tell a Scott Storch beat. Yeah, they all weren't trying to jock each other. They all weren't trying to use each other's sound. They always trying to build who they were as beat makers and
yeah.
producers. So, you know, I feel like that's missing now, you know, but that's funny you brought that album. That was a dope album.
That was a dope album, man.
Yeah.
Very dope album. Might maybe go try to pull up that video after this and look at that again, man.
Hey man,
Yeah,
get some inspiration in you.
get some inspiration, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of, man, like, one of the things I also like to ask every guest is, being a music creator to somebody, in this case, R&B, like, one of the things that I feel like R&B basically gets overlooked in this day and age to some degree. It wasn't like, years ago, even in fact around the time we were talking, but R&B artists had a lot more exposure at that time.
Right.
And what would you say to an up and coming creator, something that you learned along the way, and maybe something that you're kind of still trying to get better at?
You know, you something within R&B, you know, what I've learned along the way and what I'm trying to get better at.
Yeah, as far as
What
getting more exposure.
what I've learned all the way with creating and getting more exposure and what I'm still learning. I would say what I've learned within creating is to not get in the way, if that makes sense. I'm learning that not get in the way. When you get a writer's block, when you get a creative block, you know, it's okay. Stop. You know, allow life to bless you with more words, if that makes sense. Allow life to, you know, life can even bless you and impact in your arranging. You know, you might had a bad day where you want to get on that laptop, plug that keyboard up, and you go back to that song you was working on. Then you like, you know what? I'm gonna change that. That ain't it. I feel something else. You know, that's what I learned within creating, and what I'm still learning is there's so many different ways to create music. Now, you know, nowadays you can create a whole song just through your phone.
Yeah, legit.
Nowadays, you know, I'm learning now because I'm such an old soul. You know, that's another reason why you know I did a whole instrument, just all instrumentation, like live instrumentation, because that's what I'm used to. You know, nowadays, you know, a lot of people say, "Man, you could have recorded that whole album through Logic, that this."
Yeah,
You know, which I know I could have. You know, and I'm about to start using Logic soon. You know, but I just love getting up, going to the studio. It's like that's the vibe, you know, because I'm so into the bands like Snarky Puppy and bands like Corey and the Funk Apostles, Parliament Funkadelic, Earth, Wind and Fire. Them bands they had to go in the studio to record their music. So, you know, but everybody's different. But you know, I'm learning more about just ways to create. It's just
yeah,
now so many ways to create that I feel like I should know, but I don't. But it's just like it's just amazing. But yeah, with writing, with writing, creating, you know, when you have that creative block, it's okay.
yeah,
Take
yeah.
some time of the atmosphere to bless you. You know,
I definitely think that you know that one, you should not force creativity.
Yeah.
Uh, if I may have the mindset of sitting down one day and deciding to work on a song, or if I have someone over, we're collabing on a track or whatever.
Right.
Even sending tracks out. I've in fact, a lot of the work that I do, I might record here and I send a verse out, somebody send it back for the album. But I
Right.
mean, also, kind of going back to um the ways to create, talking whether you're doing it at home or external studio, like I think is a good practice, especially in 2023. And you mentioned you're about to get into Logic, but like to have a setup at home when that
Mhm.
inspiration does come, and even if it's something like, maybe you want to record a rough draft to a song, just
Mhm.
the concept to see how it's gonna
Right.
go until you go to another studio later.
Right. And
But
that's like I use Reasons to make my demos a lot.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. And that way, I mean, we used to do this back then, but when I used to record with a lot more people here locally, like we used to meet here at studios, and we had already had our rough draft made, so we knew, going into the studio, okay, this is how the song gonna go. We paid for 2 hours, we paid for 3 hours, so
Right.
we're
Right.
gonna go in, we're
Right.
gonna get our money's worth, get our mix, make sure that they have enough time to do whatever they need to do while we're at the studio. But
Right.
I think a lot of other times, and there's artists that I work with that I wish had a home setup, because I feel like they you definitely don't want to rush the process, but I feel at the same time they should be putting out more music,
Mhm.
especially in this day and age.
Mhm.
And you just got to find that perfect balance, of course,
Right.
and whatever your budget allows you to have at home. I
Right.
know everybody, some people have a family and they can't have a
Right.
full setup at home. So it's just really whatever you find that benefits however you like to work. If you like to work at home more, which me personally I like to do more of. That's kind of the route I go. But I mean, if somebody want to go to outside studio, I'm all for that as well.
Yeah. I would say it depends on what type. If you like one of the artists where you just make everything through the computer, yeah, you could just plug that mic up and
Yeah,
do your thing. But someone like me that's big on horns and strings, and
yeah.
it's gonna require some engineering assistance.
Oh yeah, yeah. Definitely, with live instruments, and
Yeah.
especially like, kind of how you did your album. Uh I wouldn't, because that's one of the things I want to get more into, like live instrumentation myself at some point. I play the trumpet and I can play a couple
Right.
of other instruments as well. So I'd like to put that in some of my music at some
Right.
point. So
Right. Right.
yeah, man.
Oh yeah.
What
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, live instrumentation is a whole different vibe. Like I said, that's just where I come from. Like being in church, everything was just live. You know, live drums, live keyboard, live organ, guitar. You know, yes. Oh yeah,
man, that band on stage, everybody getting it, man. I remember them days, man, going into them old school churches.
yeah. What you talking about? Pentecost all the way,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What
Most
kind
definitely.
of shout outs do you have before we shut down the show for the day?
Man, I want to shout out to Jeremy Simmons. Like I said, he was the engineer on the album. Um, he is the founder and the owner of Elephant Ear Studios. If you want some good engineering, good mixing, he's your guy. Also, he's a great producer. He produced for groups like Halfcast. I hope I said their name right. And he produced for a group called Weekend Plans. And he has produced for other rock groups also. He's a cool guy, Jeremy Simmons. I want to shout out to Kurt, Boogie B, Big Bottom. He's a bass player. He played bass on some of the tracks. I want to shout out to Zach, who's like my brother. Zach Robinson. He played drums. You know, he did drums on some tracks and he played percussion. Shout out to him. Um, I want to give a big shout out to a lot of people. I'm trying to think. So many people. Catrice, shout out to her.
Trees.
Yeah, shout out Catrice, man. She's been a big help, really big help. Also, shout out to the Get Fresh ones, JC, Bob, Toby. You know, they played a big role. Chet Ferguson, you know, he who did horn arrangements with me on this album. So shout out to everybody that I consider, you know, not only friends but family. You know, shout out to everybody. Just shout out to everybody, and just shout out to my Lord and Savior. Also, say the best for last. You know, but yeah, you know, and shout out for the next album. You know, shout out for that. You know, just give a shout out for that. You know, everybody stay tuned for that.
And where can our listeners find you at, social media, and where can they find all of your music?
Y'all can find my music, you know, Funk Love and Soul is my first album. Y'all can find my music on Apple Music, YouTube, Spotify, I'm everywhere. All you have to do is just type in P.D. Williams with an S on the end. P.D. Williams. You can see a painting of me in the middle when I had braids. Say Funk Love and Soul, man. Listen to the album. I've been getting a lot of different stars for the songs. That lets me know that a lot of people are liking the music. I just appreciate all the support. Also shout out to people overseas. There's a lot of people overseas that love Dream. It's kind of like the jazz song on the album, jazz R&B song on the album. A lot of people loves that song. But shout out to everybody that's been, you know, playing that song, and shout out to everybody that's been playing Leave It Alone and Sophisticated Lady. I just thank God for the support that I've given, and y'all just be on the lookout, you know, and y'all can follow me on also on the real underscore PD Williams. That's my Instagram, the real underscore PD Williams. Also follow me on Facebook. My Facebook name is just regular Paul Daniel, no S on the end, Paul Daniel. And then you can see a guy with a cap Scully on his head with a guitar on his shoulder and a black shirt. That's me. So follow me on that, and that's that. And you know, also I'm on Bandcamp. My album's on Bandcamp too. So if you're a person that does Bandcamp, you can listen to the album. You can buy it for $10. You know, do your thing.
Yeah, go get the album Funk, Soul, and Love on all streaming platforms, and give PD Williams a follow on social media as well.
It's pronounced Funk, Love, and Soul.
Funk, Love, and Soul. Sorry.
Yeah, you good.
Funk, Love, and Soul. Yeah. And you could follow me on Instagram at D._major music. And if you're an independent artist, music producer, looking to get on a platform, actually hit me up on IG, and we'll see about getting you a date on a podcast. Listen to new episodes here on YouTube, as well as all podcast streaming platforms. It's D. and PD Williams, and we are out.
Major Music.